today we'll be looking at 13 reasons why we should exercise. Now, what does exercise even mean? People have different thoughts. As a fitness instructor, I find that people feel that exercise means that you have to come to the gym and you have to do a class, or you have to work out in that format. No, basically it's physical effort to sustain or improve fitness. So that means you can do anything active. It doesn't have to be joining a soccer club or being part of a gym or attending a class. You can do anything to keep active. So, the excuses of not having a gym membership and saying, I can't afford it or I can't do that, it's not really any reasons why you cannot exercise. So let's look at the types of exercises there are. So we have aerobic exercise, anaerobic exercise, and flexibility training. I do put flexibility training within exercise because I think it is vital. As a fitness instructor, that is how I see people have a better quality of life. So let's break these down. So aerobic, we mean when you can actually sustain the activity for a prolonged time. So walking, running, jogging, that kind of an activity. That is aerobic. So you're not out of breath. And they're not really, I've mentioned them in different groups, but effectively they can be, it's almost like a slider of how much of each, like you're doing an activity and you could be 60% aerobic, 20% anaerobic, and you can be including your flexibility training in there. So it does vary on what activity you're doing as to what proportion of each you are experiencing. Anaerobic activity could be something like your weight training, your resistance training, where after a while you have that lactic acid burn and you need to stop or else your body will just collapse. It will stop for you. And flexibility training is the activity we do where we really move our body to its full range of motion and try to extend it beyond. So which one should we do? I say we should do all of them. Now you'll find that, particular people have a mindset of, I am a bodybuilder, I will only do weights. I'm not going to do any aerobic training, I'm not going to do any running, and definitely no flexibility training in there. But I feel it is important for having well-rounded health that all are needed. So let's look at what benefits they have, like each one. So aerobic training, the walking, running, it's good for your cardiovascular health. It is absolutely beautiful for your cardiovascular health. In other words, working out your heart. Anaerobic training, and again, it's not specific to just these areas. They can overlap, yeah? So anaerobic training, bone density, muscle density, and also your strength, your muscle strength. Really important. Flexibility training. I find that is best for good quality of life, because just imagine you do your running but you're stiff. You do your weight training but you're stiff. Well, you want to do some flexibility training and then you just feel better. It's funny, after I do my Pilates classes, I always finish off, I do about 25% the finale, 25% yoga. And I do even incorporate throughout, I put yoga components within there. So flexibility training. And everybody comes out of it and I get the comments of, wow, that felt amazing. Just feeling better. Just from something simple like that. And people will think, oh, that's not a workout. Well, yes, it is. It's to improve your quality of life. And it's sustained activity. You're moving or you're holding a pose. That's sustained activity. I also believe that it helps avoid injury, flexibility training. Now, I have not looked at any studies because apparently there are studies out there that say no, there's no correlation between flexibility training and avoiding exercise. I've been pulled up on that. But I tell you what, from from a personal level and from the hundreds of clients that I've, probably thousands by now, that I've worked with over the years, because I have been doing this for 20 years, I find that the more flexible they are, the less likely they are to have an injury. Now let's look at it from a logical perspective. I can flex, so I can move my arm a massive amount, and I fall, or I do something where it moves my arm at that point. Well, because I have that flexibility, I have moved to that point. Hence, I'm not going to have an injury because, different falling, you're getting a bruise, that's separate. But let's just say I've done something where I've moved my arm to a point where I can normally move it. If the next person can't move their arm all that way and they do something to strain it to go beyond that point, they will have an injury. So this is just from a logical perspective. I can move, a range of motion of particular limb, say 45 degrees, the next person can only do it 30 degrees. Well, if I do something, I slip or I move or I do something, quickly, and I move that limb at, if I can move it to 45 degrees, if I move it to 40 degrees, I'll be fine. But if the person that can only move it to 30 degrees moves it beyond 30 degrees, they will have an injury. You see what I'm saying here? It's just from a logical perspective. Now, why on earth should we exercise? What's so important? Now, I've got not 9 reasons, I've got 13 reasons, but you can break them up and there could be so many more. I'm just going to pick out some of the good ones. I'm sure there are other good ones out there, but let's go through them. So, number 1, improves cognitive function. Why would exercise improve cognitive function? And we know that when we do exercise, there are a lot of hormones released, and they're all included. Now, I've looked at this particular study, and it says scientific evidence based on neuroimaging approaches over the last decade has demonstrated the efficacy of physical activity improving cognitive health across the human lifespan. Aerobic fitness spares age-related loss of brain tissue during aging and enhances functional aspects of higher-order regions involved in the control of cognition. More active or high-fit individuals are capable of allocating greater attentional resources towards environment and able to process information more quickly. These data are suggestive that aerobic fitness enhances cognitive strategies, enabling to respond effectively to an imposed challenge with better yield in task performance. In turn, animal studies have shown that exercise has a benevolent action on health and plasticity on the nervous system. New evidence indicates that exercise exerts its effects on cognition by affecting molecular events related to the management of energy, metabolism, and synaptic plasticity. An important instigator of the molecular machinery stimulated by exercise is brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which acts as an interface of metabolism and plasticity. Recent studies show that exercise collaborates with other aspects of lifestyle to influence the molecular substrates of cognition. In particular, select dietary factors share similar mechanisms with exercise, and in some cases, they complement the action of exercise. Therefore, exercise and dietary management appear as a non-invasive and effective strategy to counteract neurological and cognitive disorders. So if that is not enough, just that, step 1, exercise because of this. And the reason, number 1 reason, I think that for this reason alone, it is so important to exercise. Now I'm going to go through the other reasons that I think, without so much of the scientific evidence, but I'll add my own. So the other one is better posture. So number 2 is better posture. And this one is pretty simple. It's because you've got greater muscular strength, and hence it can hold your body upright better. Specifically in my classes when I teach, I really focus on working the body in a complete fashion. So I don't just focus on, single movements. I like functional movements and working the body entirely rather than just, we're just doing this and, it's pushing one way and then we're going to push the other way and then that's about it. No, we want the full range of motion, and that really helps with posture. Another reason, number 3, boost confidence. So what happens when you exercise? You start looking better. You start feeling better. And with the just let's look at the physical appearance. You start improving the way you look, and that alone can give you confidence because you're looking better. Another one is removing stress. When you're exercising or you're active, that really steers away from those anxious and stressful thoughts, especially if they're work related. It just plays on your mind. I can tell you with certainty, when I'm teaching my classes, I am not thinking of anything else but that class. And I find that, especially like with something like Pilates class, for example, I'm getting the participants to do very particular moves where they really have to think about how they're moving the body. And it is true for them as well. So hundreds of people over the years, if not thousands, have said, I don't think of anything but this class. So by just shifting your mind off those stressful thoughts and anxious thoughts does make you feel better just by, focusing on something else. And of course, sleeping better, number 5, sleeping better. And having good sleep, that's another thing on its own to ensure that we are, sleeping, because when you sleep, think about sleep as your brain going to the toilet. If you don't sleep, it just collects the junk. So we really need sleep to ensure that our brain has removed its waste. And if you don't get good sleep, that is what accumulates. And that is what they're finding is causing damage. So very important to sleep. Number 6, more energy. So you will find that you have more energy. I find that comparing, this is just a local example myself, comparing to other people that I know that don't do the same amount of exercise as myself. And the energy difference is astounding. And people always say, Betty, you have so much energy. And that's because of my exercise. I do. I'm quite active. So it does help a lot. Now, because exercise supports immune function, number 7 is you get sick less often. So that's another good one. And number 9, our bones get strong. Now, with your resistance training, all the movement, anything that's weight bearing, your bones then respond by becoming stronger. So that is one of the most important factors to avoiding osteoporosis, and that is that resistance training. Number 10, increased muscle mass. Well, we all know this one. You work out, you get more muscles. And that goes with everything, brain, muscle, bone. If you don't use it, you lose it. It's a general principle. It's just if you keep that in mind. So increased muscle mass. Now, the beautiful thing with increased muscle mass is, especially if you're trying to lose weight or lose fat, is that you have more metabolically active tissue on your body. So what does that mean? It means by even just sitting down on a chair and doing nothing, watching TV, by having more muscle mass means you're burning more calories. Did we get that? It was funny at the gym the other day. I had somebody tap me on the shoulder and saying, can you show me which exercises burn fat? And so it was an interesting question. It almost goes back to the days where I used to get this question. I haven't been asked this for a long time. I think people have gotten it now, but they used to point to a particular location on their body, say their hips, and say, how do I get rid of fat here? Just here, not anywhere else. So that was an interesting question. So I just went through and I said, these are the good exercises you can do, and they burn fat. And then the response to that was, but I don't want to put muscle on. I just want to lose fat. And I'm thinking, it really takes a lot to put on a lot of muscle. I train so much, and if you look at me, you wouldn't think, oh, she's full of muscle. So I explained this, and I said, you can do these weights and they really won't affect the look. Like, you're not going to get bulky, you're not going to be a world-class bodybuilder. It takes a lot to get to that level. I have my bodybuilder friends, and they are training really hard, and their diet is super focused to get to that precision level. You don't just get it by doing, just your general weights. It's not going to happen unless you have some sort of disorder where you grow muscle really, really quickly. It won't happen, especially for women. Okay? Guys, maybe a bit more because you're guys, but women, no. So if you're a woman out there and you're afraid to pick up some weights, don't be afraid. Think about, I'm going to do my weight training and I'm going to lose fat. So increased muscle mass is important because just by sitting there, you will burn more calories. Number 11, reduces blood pressure. I've got to tell you, and the science is behind this, but I'll tell you a personal story on this one. I had a client years and years and years ago. This would have been, I'd say, over 15 years ago. And part of where I worked at this particular gym, we had to do a screening to ensure that the client was fit to commence personal training. So I screened this client, and her blood pressure was high. And so we could not commence. And I said, look, even though this is going to be good for you, I can't start. You really need to get clearance from your doctor. And she had the biggest go at me. And I was young at that stage too. I was young. I'm like, don't scream at me, please. Anyway, she did. She went to her doctor. Thank goodness. That was great. She got the clearance and we commenced. And she said to me, you know what, Betty? It's absolutely pointless, even looking at my blood pressure. It's been high for years. The last 30 years it's been high, and there's nothing you can do that's going to change it, and nothing my doctor's done that's going to change it. So you know what? Just get over it. It's what it is. So we kept training. It was only a few sessions. We didn't train for that long to say, so I think it was like 4 sessions later. It was a very few sessions, and she went back to her doctor. She came back on the next session that we had, and she was nearly crying. And I'm like, oh, I hope everything's okay. Oops, what have I done? Well, what had we done? She said, for the first time in 30 years, my doctor checked me and my blood pressure was normal. Now, for me, being young, that was a rude awakening for me. It was like, you know what, Betty? There's something in this. And this was weight training. I didn't do cardio with her. I didn't do anything else. It was just pure weight training. I did give her a program to do cardio on the other times, but with me, it was really hardcore weight training. And so that's my personal experience with it. So from then, it was just like, wow, there's something in this. Sure, N equals 1, but it doesn't mean it doesn't happen with others. And the studies are out there. So that was my personal experience, and that was quite profound. And I've had others since, but that one was very profound because she had high blood pressure for such a long time, and we reduced it simply with exercise. We reversed it just easily. Next one is lowers type 2 diabetes. So not exercise alone, but maybe exercise alone, but I would always couple that with good diet. And reduces body fat, as we said before, because you have more lean muscle, you are more metabolically active, hence you can, just by sitting there, burn that fat. Isn't that wonderful? So they're just my 13 reasons. I've looked around, there's so many more, but if the first one alone, improving your cognitive function and seeing the science behind that, if that's not enough for you, then you can look at the others. But I think for me, if you want to have that clarity when you're at work and just, execute with precision, it is amazing to have. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and a Betty PT signing out.